I'm Sebastian St. James. Chinese investors are abandoning Australia in droves. Do you know the peak in Chinese investment in Australia was back in 2008? We see 16.2 billion in 2008 and it's basically been going flat 2012, 13, 14 to a nice up on 2016 and then down right until 2021, which we've completed that whole year. That's why we got the stats for, and it's basically 585 million down from 16 billion. There are two types of Chinese companies which are investing in Australia. First of all, they are the Chinese companies which are investing in our natural resources. That's the sole reason why they're here. And secondly, there are the Chinese companies that are investing on the ASX to get our money. So what types of companies are actually trying to invest in Australia for our resources? There are three types. In particular, they're going after our mining, our agriculture, and our port access. Here is AVZ Minerals, which we've discussed on this channel before. AVZ Minerals has announced in 2022, this is right now, the expedited completion of a $240 million US cornerstone investment from Chinese operator Shenzhou Energy Technologies for its Mananao lithium-ion project in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So where is the Democratic Republic of Congo? Obviously in Africa. Here is a map. And there is a mine right there in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And you can see around the country, Uganda, Tanzania, Zambia, it's all there. Why is AVZ mining over there for its lithium? What are they going to do with this lithium? Here's a picture. Of course, it's all about rechargeable cars and their rechargeable batteries. CATL is considered to be at the tip of the spear in the new energy space and boasts an armoury of research and development centres and production hubs around the world. Crucially, the company is China's largest developer of electric vehicle batteries and a key supplier to industry juggernaut Tesla. So that is the company, the Chinese company that has a substantial stake in our Australian mining company, and that's why they've come here. This is Australian farmland. How sweet and serene. The largest foreign-owned portion leasehold is China at number 1 at 8,313. That's 1,000 hectares. Secondly is United Kingdom, Bahamas, Germany, Switzerland, Canada, Hong Kong, Netherlands, South Africa. It is China that is number 1 as of that date. So why are Chinese companies buying up our farmland or leasing it? The answer is simple. Chinese investors view Australia as fertile ground to produce goods that they will sell back to China. There's heavy demand from China's booming middle class for Australian-produced fruits, meats, wines, dairies, and minerals. Can you give me an example of this? Yes, I can. As an example, China's Shanghai Cred owns 33%, a third of Kidman Co, with Gina Reinhardt Hancock Beef. Kidman Co who? Well, here's a picture. It is a massive farm, as you can see, with some lovely cows. It looks very dry at the moment. Exactly where are they located? Obviously in Australia. If you look at this picture, you would assume it was the whole of Australia. It's not. It is those red dots. So really in the middle, towards the east of Australia, they have many, many farms. Would you like to have a look at one? Well, here it is. There are some cows, which to me look as if they've been grain-fed in the middle of a hot climate under some sails. But there you go. That's actually a picture of one of the farms. This is the Port of Darwin. That's very picturesque. You can see a cruise ship which has come in there, and I understand that that cruise ship holds more people than the entire population of Darwin. And here is one of its port's resources for handling cargo. They certainly do. So who runs this Port of Darwin? Obviously it's the Northern Territory government, or they've got some Australian contractor in. No, the answer is China runs it. Following the 2012 election of Country Liberal Party, the Territory sought to raise funds for an unspecified purpose through the sale of public assets, including the Territory Insurance Office and Darwin Port. In 2015, the Chinese-owned Landbridge Group won the bid for a lease of Port Darwin. The then Country Liberal-controlled Northern Territory government, under the Chief Minister Adam Giles, granted the company a 99-year lease for $506 million. Now, recently they did reconsider whether they wanted to take back the Port of Darwin from this Chinese company, and they decided no, they're not going to. And so that Port of Darwin for the next 99 years, minus a few when it was first leased, is actually the property of a Chinese company. So that's what Chinese companies are doing over in Australia. They're getting into our resources, our farmland, our mining and our ports, and they're also here on the ASX itself for our money. The number of Chinese companies listed on the Australian share market continues to grow. 6 Chinese companies had listed on the Australian share market during 2017 by the end of November, bringing the total to 55. This was the state of play in 2017. Why were Chinese companies coming to the ASX? The answer is the ASX was recruiting them. Why? For listing fees. So, the more companies that the ASX has listed on it, the more fees it can charge per year. And that's a good thing if you're the ASX management. What did Chinese companies get out of it? Well, Chinese companies saw listing on the ASX was prestigious, and the listing rules were actually fairly relaxed, meaning it was easy for a Chinese company to list on the ASX. There were few hurdles to do so. Here is a brochure which I found, which is about listing in Australia for a Chinese company and the advantages of it. As you can see, half of it's in English, the other half is in Chinese. Australia boasts an outstanding economic track record and offers business and dynamic yet dependable markets in times of economic uncertainty. And it goes on. And it's a whole brochure advertising to the Chinese market to come and list on the ASX. Coming out shortly, I have a video which is going to explain what the future of the Australian economy is going forward, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out. That was back in 2017. Now, in 2022, Chinese investment in Australia has plummeted by 70%. It was almost the perfect storm. Australia-China relations have been bumpy and COVID-19 doesn't help. China is going through its own challenges in terms of the economy, with more focus on domestic markets. Overseas expansion is being evaluated more carefully by the Chinese government. Australia is being more cautious about Chinese investment as well. Back a few years ago, China was in overdrive to expand to other economies, and Australia was one of its favourites as far as its Belt and Road Initiative is concerned. But now, with the economy going south, then they're starting to withdraw back into their own country. Political hostilities between Beijing and Canberra mean Chinese investors are wary about doing deals in Australia. In the past, the Chinese government encouraged China-based companies to list on overseas market as a part of China's Belt and Road Initiative. However, Chinese companies have experienced comparatively high levels of delisting from and rejections of listing on the Australian Stock Exchange. The delisting rejection has generally related to concerns about the Chinese company's compliance with Australia's continuous disclosure rules, which require a company to immediately disclose important new information about issues relevant to its situation or operations as soon as it is available to the company. In the past, not that long ago, 5 years ago or so, the rules for foreign companies were quite relaxed on their ASX. That is no longer the case. The ASX has totally overhauled their rules. They're much, much tighter. As a result, most or a lot of the Chinese company, actually it's most of them, no longer have met those requirements and they've slipped away. They've become delisted. And that's one of the major reasons why Chinese companies have left the ASX, because they cannot cope with the new regulations. So, which Chinese companies have been delisted from the ASX? Well, that's a pretty picture. This is Traditional Therapy Clinics Limited, owns and operates therapeutic health and wellness clinics. The company offers massage and physical therapy services. Traditional Therapy Clinics serves patients worldwide. Ticker symbol TTC on the ASX, except, it has now been delisted. They came and they went. This is Wolf Petroleum. Wolf Petroleum was a public company with a focus on oil and gas exploration, development and production in Mongolia. So their gas and oil exploration had nothing actually to do with Australia. It's based in Mongolia, but it was listed on the ASX, was being the operative word. The company was delisted from the ASX in November 2018. So down they fall, from a peak around about 55 down to about, say, 4 or 5 left. So there's not many. Will China invest in Australia again? Well, it depends. It depends on the relationship China has with Australia going forward, whether Chinese companies can comply with the ASX rules, the new ones, and how much China wants to expand around the world, because it has retracted in and of itself, nothing to do with Australia recently. Do you know there's been hard selling on the ASX recently with the markets plummeting? Go ahead and click on it here.